Hey, I'm James from Smoking Dad Barbecue, and today we're starting early. It's just after 6 in the morning on a really good Friday. It's a good Friday because we are smoking some brisket, and it's actually Good Friday. So couldn't avoid the dad joke there, but you're gonna not wanna miss this cook. We are gonna trim, prep, and smoke this entire pack of brisket, but I wanna get some smoke rolling. So speaking of smoke, today I'm using a piece of Texas post oak, which is some of the best smoke profile that you can get on your brisket. So let's build our fire, get the grill stable, and we'll take this in, trim it up, and get our salt and pepper on the brisket. All right, let's make up our rub. We're gonna keep it pretty simple. Just black pepper and kosher sea salt. Go about 50-50. Maybe just a touch more pepper. That's good, so we're set. Move this aside and we'll get trimming. All right, we've trimmed up our brisket, and as you can tell, we removed a lot of the excess fat. Not a lot of meat here in what we removed. I've done that for a couple reasons. This isn't a competition style brisket, this is for our family, and I really want to get that flavor of the bark all over. Second, from experience, if you buy a good piece of brisket with that intermuscular fat, that's often where your juicy, wonderful flavors come from, not so much the fat cap. I've tried fat cap up, fat cap down. In general, my preference is just to put the fat cap down and help that render out where it's exposed more to the direct heat source coming up from the bottom of the Kamado Joe. And so the other advantage of trimming off some of the excess fat is as fat renders, that just means melting fat and it's just falling down into your grill. So there's less cleanup if you remove some of that fat that doesn't actually enter into the meat. So this is a little bit cleaner, a little bit better for our bark, and in my experience, no difference in the flavor. So we were able to take our time, remove as much of that silver skin as possible, as much of that hard fat, and as you can see, that there's not a lot of meat missing in there. So we're gonna go ahead and rub up our brisket with our salt and pepper mix and insert our temperature probe and get it on the Kamado Joe. All right, that looks good to me. We'll just give this a couple minutes to tack up while we clean up here before the family, the wife, wakes up and sees the mess I've made of her kitchen while it's early in the morning. She's really good about it. I'm gonna clean up and I'll meet you outside. All right, our Kamado Joe is up to temperature. We've got our brisket trimmed, seasoned. It's had a couple minutes to tack up. I've got the temp probe into the thick part, middle of the flat. We're ready to go. So let me bring a little bit closer so I can show you what I've got going on. While the brisket is full size and hasn't had a chance to shrink up at all, I put a V-rack in the on the top of the grill so we can lay this over, and that just helps give us extra space while everything shrinks up. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, there's our V-rack, which is just gonna give us some extra space to drape this brisket over. Make sure fit in nicely, because packers can be large and in charge. All right, so we'll be able to, you'll be amazed later in the cook, that'll actually shrink right down and we'll be able to fit it without the V-rack, but this will just help make sure everything's nice and cozy when we start off our cook. All right, I just want to point something out now that we've got our brisket on and rolling, and that is smoke. So I don't know if the camera is going to pick this up for us or not, but what you can just see coming out of the back of the vent and the front here is clean blue smoke. And so that's what you want to wait for, this color, when you're putting on brisket for smoking. I know naturally it might seem more intuitive to say if I can see white billowy smoke, that's a good thing. That's not what is going to taste good on your brisket. So we put our wood log on the bottom of the Kamado Joe, and so what's happening when you put the coals on top is they're burning and there's starting to be some embers smoldering that wood, and that smoke then comes up through the fire, which helps increase the temperature of the smoke, and it changes it from that white smoke into what we can barely see here, which is that clean blue smoke. So that's something that you want. Let me give you a quick peek. I know if you're looking, you ain't cooking, but I want to show you, since you guys are along for the ride, that our brisket is all tucked in nice and cozy, and we are going to start spraying it with water in about 45 minutes to an hour, and we'll do that every hour or so, or depending on how our bark's coming along. Anyways, I'll see you in a little bit. All right, let's spray the brisket. Okay, so that's looking really good. Already starting to shrink up. And so this is now about the 2-hour mark. We went a little bit further. It didn't quite look ready for spray earlier. So I'm just making sure these areas around the outside, which will be more prone to drying out, are getting sprayed. And soon we'll be ready to lay our brisket flat. So let's give that a little bit more time. All right, we're a couple hours in, and I think our brisket has shrunk up enough that we can go ahead and lay it flat. So let's do that. And while we're doing that, I'll also point out why I chose to use the SloRoller today. And so even though our brisket was a little large and in charge, and you can have a hard time fitting it in a Kamado Joe Classic, one of the reasons I love the SloRoller is you just get that perfectly even heat. And so even if we have to bend, fold, manipulate it, you can use a piece of wood or a V-rack like I'm using. You don't have to worry about it cooking. It's going to cook completely even. So I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like inside of the grill right now. Oh, I wish you had smell-o-vision. This is only a couple hours in and it's already smelling awesome. So as you saw, I just have some cotton gloves with some nitro gloves around the outside. So this will allow me to pick up things that are hot and not be too concerned about it. A little spritz here of our brisket. So I'm just using water, but you can use hot sauce or anything else, a little apple cider vinegar, things like that if you like. But we're just keeping everything traditional with salt, pepper, nice piece of beef, and water for spray. Okay, that looks good to me. Close this back up, see you in a little bit. All right, our brisket has been on about 5 hours and we've now hit about 165 degrees, and I think our bark is looking awesome. So I don't think it's gonna take much more smoke, so I wanna speed this up and wrap it. Let me bring you a little bit closer. Oh, that looks and smells amazing. And so this has not been drying out because we've been spraying it. But I think our bark is done passing the scratch test, so the rub is not coming off when we rub it. Let's go ahead and set up some foil. I've got some beef broth, and we're gonna wrap this up tight and bring it closer to its finishing temperature. Alright guys, our brisket's done. It's time to give it the FTC treatment. Never heard of that? It's pretty simple. It's foil, which we've already got, towel, and cooler, which is just below the shot, but I'll bring it up so you can see. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take our brisket out in the foil pouch, wrap it with this towel, throw it in the brisket and leave it inside for at least 2 hours. And that's just gonna help the brisket relax, soak up some of those juices that it's been pushing out throughout the cook, and that'll help just make our brisket that much more flavorful and juicy when we slice into it in a couple hours for dinner. So let's go fast forward while we get this brisket off. All right, I'll meet you inside in a couple hours when it's time to slice this open and see how we. All right, guys, it is dinner time, and I can already tell just by that this is gonna be good. So let's slice into our brisket, see what it looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and cut just down here in the middle. So we've got the point meat and the flat meat. We're gonna cut in the middle. We'll cut the point. Brisket. So as you can tell, she's juicy. Smoke ring is executed perfectly. Bark executed perfectly. We'll grab a piece of our flat here. Go for, ooh, hot pencil. So we got the bend and pull, ooh, hot. It's tender, let's try it. That's good, buddy. You're missing out.